Um, Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Chef Amit, starting with your food production theory class. And today we're gonna discuss a topic called Rajasthani cuisine. It's one of the regional cuisine of India. And before I start, I repeat again the same. Once you log in, please mention your name, your section, your roll number, and your campus for your attendance first. And if you have any question regarding this topic, which we're going to discuss, please ask those questions in your comment box. I'll get it on my phone and then I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. Okay, so let's begin with the Rajasthani cuisine. So when we talk about Rajasthan, the first thing comes in our mind is people of Rajasthan, especially the Rajputs, and their culture, singing, dancing form, and then most importantly, for which we are here, is their food actually. Uh, the, the food of Rajasthan is actually influenced by different factors, uh, religious belief and all, and the availability of ingredients. But before we start with the cuisine side of our topic, we need to know what is the background Rajasthan has. I mean, what is the history they have? What is the location they have? The geographical location they have, because all these elements will decide what sort of food people over there gonna eat, and these are the factors which affect actually. It's a very unique cuisine because in this cuisine we use some very unique ingredients which we normally do not use in a normal day Indian kitchen. Okay, so let's begin with the geography. So it is situated on the northwestern border of India. It's a borderless state with Pakistan, but before the partition, we had the Rajasthan area. Some of the area is left in Pakistan, so that area was also included in Rajasthan, but some part is gone towards the Pakistan, but still we have pretty much 90% of Rajasthan with us. Now this place is known for Thar Desert, the Great Thar Desert we all know, and this area of Rajasthan has been divided by mountain range called Aravali Mountain Range that also affect the climate condition in that particular region actually. So there is a story from the Hindu mythology that before this land was actually covered by an ocean called Dramkula. Dramkulia was a name of the ocean which was here actually. So it was all water, and because of an arrow by Lord Rama, all the water got drained out, and the land came up. And so in the beginning, the land was fertile actually, and people were growing things over here. But due to climatical changes that took place, uh, the land start to become a desert land. Marustal. Marustal means actually the land of dead, a land where nothing grows. So this climate change kept on going, and one side I would say, because since they have the Aravali mountain range in between, so one side, especially the western side of the state, became so dry and it became a desert. When we talk about a little bit towards the eastern side, conditions are still warm, still humid, dry, but the land is better and much more fertile than what we have on the other side. That is actually the desert area. So the thing is, when we talk about the desert, so nothing grows in a desert, but people still somehow manage to survive over there. And it's not like few people were there. There were like princely states were ruling on that place, which was actually surrounded by desert, or it was around the desert area. So let's take example of Bikaner, Badmer, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer. All these areas are actually bit of a desert area, but still the population was there. And when we talk about uh, the people over there, the first thing actually comes in our mind is the Rajputs. Rajput community is the community which ruled this state of Rajasthan for more than 1,000 years actually, but not as a unit. They were all divided into different clans. I would say Rathor and different Maharajas were there from different clans and different community. I would say the caste system was there, and they established different cities and they founded like in if we go in history we find that in 1459 Rao Judha, who was a king from the Rathod Rathod family background, founded Jodhpur in 1459. Okay, and later on his successor Rao Bika founded Bikaner, and then there was another ruler who's very famous actually, Raja Mansingh, Mansingh the second, who served in Mughal army as well, and he founded the base for Jaipur city, which is also known as Pink City today. Jaipur was the idea of Jaipur came in his mind when he was ruling from a fort which was built on a mountain. So he decided to have a city in a plain area as well. So he built the city, and it's a first planned city actually, first planned city of India, uh, which was very well planned architecturally, drainage system, and everything was there. So this was very well known city. Now, when we talk about the other thing beside the community, there is another community. We have Marwadi community. They have their own influence on their food. They are actually the community of traders. We will talk about that later. And let's start the description of the food which we have. I mean, diversity is there within the region. So let's start with the food which is available in the desert area. When I say desert area, is the area where nothing grows. Like Marustal, I already mentioned Marustal is a land of dead. Land of dead means nothing grows, and there are always a problem with the droughts, and rainfall is very less. But people somehow they manage to survive. That is the beauty of nature. That if it's we call it a mother nature. So mother nature always give you a way to survive. All you have to do just find out how. And the people of Rajasthan who are very tough uh, physically and mentally, and say they managed to survive by finding these ingredients which were available within desert. So when we talk about the ingredients available, we have to talk about the khejri tree. Khejri is a kind of a tree which can be grown in a climate conditions which are available in a desert. It needs very less water, and high temperature doesn't matter to this tree. And this why this tree is very important. It's because it it needs less water. I told you already. Then it has a root which goes very deep inside the ground, and it holds the ground. Actually, the soil around it, it holds up, and since it holds up the ground, it helps the other small plants to grow up around it. Then, because of the deep roots, it also keep the water level underneath the earth on a good scale. So people who are using groundwater, and normally they have groundwater on a bit of higher level. If you have a lot of khejri trees, because of that, they maintain a ground level groundwater level. Then at the time of drought, because there is one story that the time came when there was a drought and no rain almost for an year. So people were so desperate to survive. So they find that the kejri tree leaf, they can feed it to their livestock. Now, what kind of a livestock they have? They usually have goats. They take care of them, and they get milk out of them, milk and milk product like buttermilk, butter, and at the end, if the goat is of no use, they can always use the meat of the goat as their meal. But why do we need livestock in a desert area? The question comes like, I mean, there is no water, there is no food. I mean, it's very hard for myself to survive. Why would I get an animal with me who needs food and water again. So the question is answered like this. First I told you that there is a kejri tree, so I can feed my goat with the leaf of the kejri tree. Then there is another thing, that water consumption, which we are talking about. The water which is consumed by a goat could be of a or should could be of a could be contaminated a little bit. I mean, if you see the immune system of a human being and immune system of an animal, it's a bit different. So if a goat drinks a water which is a bit dirty, which is not suitable for me or any human being, so but goat still manage to survive because of the immune system, and as a result they give you milk and milk product, and you will not find any impurity in their milk and the milk product like buttermilk or yogurt or if you say ghee, which you get out of them. So it works as a filtration. You don't get water out of them, but yes, you get milk or the milk product, so you get benefit from there only. So that was the reason. Now again there were, I mean, kejri tree is like, okay, it helps you out to survive a little bit, but yes, you need some more things to eat. So people went around and looked for other ingredients. Then they find out other ingredients. The other ingredients were kher. Kher is a kind of a caper berry, which is found in a desert area, and it can survive on a very high temperature with the lowest amount of water is required, or maybe no water for a long time. Another ingredient which they find is a sangri. Sangri is also known as desert bean. Since the name is desert bean, that means it's a kind of a bean which can, a bean plant, you can say, which can survive a high temperature and the low waterfall, rainfall. Then another ingredient which is again a bee, which is beans, which is a gawar ki fali. It's a kind of a slim, long string bean which we use here as well in Delhi. If you go in market, you will find gawar ki fali. Then there is another ingredient called kumatia. Kumatia, Kumaitia. Kumatia. Kumatia is a kind of a fruit actually, and this fruit is used as a vegetable. Okay, I repeat my words. It's a kind of a fruit, but it is used as a vegetable. Excuse me. Now, out of these vegetables, they prepare a dish which is very popular called panchkuta. Now, panchkuta is a dish which needs 5 main ingredients. Now I already mentioned kher, I already mentioned sangri, I already mentioned kumatia, I already mentioned gawar ki fali. The 5th ingredient is dried mango. Dried mango is also known as amchur. Okay, you dry the mango and then powder it, and it becomes amchur, which is used as an ingredient for your curries and all. Now this panchkuta is cooked with the chili. I mean, the chili is from Rajasthan only, and it's a famous chili of Rajasthan called mathania. Now mathania is actually, the name comes from a village in Jodhpur. In Jodhpur village, there is a red chili. They grow a red chili, and the name of the red chili becomes Mathania from the name of the village. And the uniqueness about this chili is that when you grow it, to when you have to use a manure or a fertilizer, the fertilizer used for this chili is actually the beets of the bat, which are in fort and in the havelis or any of the caves. People used to go there and collect their beets, and they use them as a fertilizer for this chili. Now, when we talk about red chili or chili, we should be aware that the chili was never originated from India. It was brought by Portuguese in in 16th century. Before that, Indian cuisine, we were using only black pepper. Even in Akbarnama, if you see, there are some dishes explained, and all of them were with the black pepper. There was no mention of red chili actually, because it was not quite popular. It just entered in India by Portuguese. Now, one more reason, the reasoning comes like why the people over there eat a lot of chilies. I mean, it's a weather where heat is there and water is less, and then on the top of that you have a lot of chilies or spicy food, we can say. So the reason behind it, there are two reasons. One is that it helps your to take out the impurities out of your body in the form of sweat. Okay. And the second reason is that when you are living in a conditions where the conditions are hot and humid, and it's an area where your sweat gets dried up almost. I mean, if you're living there for like 4 or 5 years, your body stop to sweat because there's a tendency to retain water content within the body to maintain that level of water in your body. So you have to have something which brings out your sweat, so your body temperature get cooled down, so you don't have to depend on other things. So people tend to have a lot of chilies that helps them to sweat, and it helps them it helps them to cool down their body. So this is the reason why the Rajasthani food is bit spicy. Spicy, not spicy. Spicy is actually different thing. Term. It's hot. And I already mentioned in my last class, to measure the heat of a chili, there is a scale called Scoville scale, which was invented in 1912 by Wilbur Scoville, an American pharmacist. Okay. Uh, then we talk about another major ingredient, which is very popular over there, is called bajra or millet. Now, why bajra? Bajra or millet, we say, is a kind of a grain which was actually originated from somewhere in Africa, and it ended up in India somehow. And this kind of grain is a I mean, very very easy to grow in condition like that which we find in Rajasthan, because the reason being, it needs very less water and it needs a direct sunlight and a lot of heat around it. So the weather is suitable, environment is suitable, soil is suitable. So the people of Rajasthan started to grow bajra. They started to grow bajra, and out of bajra they came up with the different dishes. Now the one of the famous dish from Rajasthan is dal bati churma. Okay, so the bati normally which we eat nowadays, it's made up of whole wheat flour. Now whole wheat flour. Now if you think that the whole wheat, it was not possible actually, especially on the desert side, which is like Jodhpur side of Rajasthan. It was not easy to grow wheat because wheat needs a lot of water. I mean, not too much of water, but yes, much more than was available over there. So wheat can be grown on the eastern side of the Rajasthan, but not on the western side. So these people were using bajra to make bati. Now bati is a kind of a bread which has been cooked in charcoal or in a there are cow dung cakes called kande, uh, and we make a ball of bajra flour. Then first we have to make a dough with the bajra flour and desi ghee. Remember, they are not using much of the water or no water, because water is already, I mean, was not there. It was impossible to put a lot of water for your breads only. So people were using ghee because ghee was available. They had the goats, as I mentioned, and the goats were giving you their milk and milk product. So you need your bajra flour with desi ghee and make a round ball. Again, you make a round ball. You don't make a flat chapati, because there is almost no gluten. There is no gluten actually, no gluten content in bajra. So you cannot stretch that dough and you cannot make a chapati out of it. So you make a ball out of it, and those balls you have to put it in a cook in slow fire with the condense, which is cow dung cake. Light them and then put it there, and it's get cooked. And for dal, you use usually a tur dal, or you make a mixture of dal. Like you have a dal punch meal, which is in Rajasthan, and in that you have to temper temper it with the garlic and mathania chili. Now this kind of a food, this kind of a food like bati and dal, it can be easily prepared, and this is the diet Rathors were using in the time of battle as well. Now there is a story in 1543. Sher Shah Suri, who was ruling Delhi at that time, he came in argument with the Raja Maldev, and he went over there with his army to attack him, and Raja Maldev also uh, get uh, get into war with him, and this war stretched for like 1 month. And what happened is that every day Rathors, they used to make dal bati, and it was easy to prepare. I mean, you have to boil the dal and then make the bati and throw it in the fire, and then later on you remove it and eat it. Okay, so but for the Sultan of Delhi, it was a bit difficult because he was running out of with his supplies, because he was not of used to of fighting in those kind of condition. He was not aware of those ingredients which can be used as a food, and finally he withdraw from there, and from there because he had not much of a supply left with him. So Bajra gave strength to the army of Rathors at that point of time, and that's what make that's what make Bajra very important for them. They find this grain as the strength for themselves. Now there is another preparation which is done by Bajra. Let me tell you one more thing before I go to another one, another dish. The bati which you prepare, after preparing, you have to soak it in a clarified butter. That is desi ghee. So it soak it up, and later on then you pour dal on the top, and the very hard piece of ball, I mean, which is very hard to chew, becomes very soft and delicious. And let me remind you that the dal which is served is bit spicy. It's not mild, it's bit spicy, and that is spiciness is there to complement the flavor of bati, because the bati doesn't have much of a flavor and much of a chili in it. So it has only a little bit of salt and desi ghee, that's it. Okay, so let's go to another ingredients which is again very famous, called kheej. Kheej is a kind of a dalia or a porridge. So spelling of kheej is Kheech. Kheej. So kheej is a kind of a dalia which is prepared with bajra, which is prepared with bajra. Now there is a story related to the kheej, how much it was loved by everybody, and this story goes like the ruler of Jodhpur, as I mentioned, Rao Jodha. In one of the battle, he lost one of his fort, and he was very desperate to get back that fort, and he was attacking again and again and again to get that fort back, but he was failing every time. So once he was so tired and he was roaming around, and he went to a house of house of this farmer, and his wife was there, and the old lady didn't recognize that he's a king, and she offered him a plate of kheej, which because that was prepared at home. And mind you, I told you that the Rajasthani people are very hospitable, and they believe in hospitality, Atithi Devo Bhava. And she offered that to him, and he was very hungry, so he just put his hand in the kheej and he burned his finger. Then the lady told him that you are doing something which is similar to Rao Jodha, who's trying to get his fort back. If you want to eat kheej, then please take it from the sides, because the sides are cold. So the Rao Jodha got an idea how to win back his fort. So he surrounded the fort and started taking over the area around it, and he cut down the supply of the fort, and eventually he won the battle. So that's how the story goes. So this was the food actually from the people who are who are local in desert area, or I would say common man. But there is a food which was served in royal kitchens as well. Now Rajasthani royal kitchens, they had three categories actually. There it was divided into three parts. The first was the Khasa Rasoda. Khasa Rasoda is a kitchen for VIPs. Kitchen for VIP means the people who are for the Maharaj, for the Raja or his family, or anybody from royal family, or any royal family who's visiting that palace. They get their food done in Khasa Rasoda. So we can call it a kitchen for VIPs. Then there was a Desi Rasoda. Desi Rasoda means the kitchen which is for the officers who are around in the palace, for the staff, sub staff, and for them there was again this kitchen, and the food for them was done here only. Then after the interference of Britishers started, after the interference of British started in Rajasthan, any culture, no, not in the culture, but in the politically they were visiting them, and they came under the rule of British, even though they were running their own states, princely states. So they were their guests as well, Britishers. So in order to feed them, they came up with another kitchen, and this kitchen was called Videshi Rasoda. Okay, so I repeat again, there are three types of royal kitchen over there. First one was Khasa Rasoda. Second one was Desi Rasoda. And the third one was Videshi Rasoda. Alright. So now if we talk about the royal recipe, there is one one thing which is very much similar in all the royal kitchens, was that all the recipes were cooked by a chef. They were kept secret, and the reason behind it, that competition within the kitchen was so much cutthroat that nobody I mean, they explain their recipe or open up their secret to anybody else. Maharajas and the kings were of that time, they were fond of food, and they were very much fond of offering a different kind of a food, a different kind of a preparation to their guests, so they can entertain them with that only, or they can surprise them. So they always ask their chef, and ask them, or they used to promote them to do innovative things with the food. Since the chefs were putting up their heads and I mean their ideas all around, so they were not disclosing this recipe to anybody. Until now, all the recipes in a royal kitchen, they are almost a secret. Now there was one more thing about the palace food, was that food was always available. I mean, once you go in a dinner time or a lunch time or in a breakfast time, they always have a food in a buffet. They used to have food in a buffet for like 20 or 30 people always. So if anybody comes uninvitedly, they manage to get him food which is already there. Then there is a thing called transfer of recipe or transfer of knowledge from one generation to another within the chefs. Transfer of recipe is like, I mean, I would not tell my recipe to anybody else except somebody who's a blood related to me, or somebody who's a student of mine for a long time. So they used to transfer the recipe, and this is the reason why some of the recipes they died with the chefs only. Okay. Now there is another thing which was related to the royal families, but they were very fond of hunting. Hunting and the game meat was there. Now, when we say game meat, what is game meat? When the Raja Maharajas, even at the time of Britishers, they used to go in the jungle and they used to hunt. They used to hunt. They used to hunt deer. They used to hunt rabbits. They used to hunt quail. Whatever is there, they were hunting. Now, from there, the concept of jungli mas came up. Now, what is jungli mas? It's a very famous Rajasthani preparation, but there is no set recipe for a jungli mas. Some people say it's only 5 ingredient recipe, in which you need you need mutton and mathania chili, then garlic and some salt and your coriander. That's it, and the ghee and the desi ghee you need. But the recipe of jungli mas actually varies, because the jungli mas is prepared in jungle, and most of the time the food, so the meat is used is the meat which is a game meat. So Maharajas and their cooks, they don't carry that much of ingredient with them. So sometimes they have to manage with the ingredient which whatever they have. Like I mentioned, 5 ingredient, the basic ingredient which you need to make jangli mas. Beside that, if they are carrying something else, like if they're carrying cardamom, cinnamon, or maybe they are nearby a village or a city where they can get some ingredient, then yes, they can always put that ingredient. So there is no fixed recipe, but the one thing is for sure that the jangli mas is the food which is no, sorry, is a preparation which is done from the game meat only. Okay, whatever they hunt, they prepare it and they eat it. Then there is another preparation which is actually, now I must mention the influence of Mughals actually. I forgot that. I need to mention the influence of Mughal since the time of Badshah Akbar. We all know that the Akbar and the Jodha, they get married, so they had political bonding, as well as they were relatives. So there was the influence of Mughals as well in their royal kitchens. Before, there is a preparation called khad khargosh. Khad khargosh is again game meat actually, where you hunt a khargosh or a rabbit, and then you cook it. But the method of cooking actually is called zamidosh method, which I mentioned actually in Avdi cuisine, if you remember. Zamidosh is a method in which you dig a hole in the ground and you cook your meat in it with the help of kande, the one I told you already, cow dung cakes. Burning kande you put because they keep on burning slowly, and they help you to have a slow and steady heat. Or you can use charcoal as well if you have whatever is available actually. So the khad khargosh is similar to that. Khad khargosh can be replaced by any other meat as well. Like it could be khad morg, it could be ran is a leg piece of a goat. Okay, excuse me. Leg piece of a goat. Uh, if you have any questions, you can please. Okay, I've got one question. Why soak bati in a clarified butter? Okay, bati is soaked in a clarified butter or a desi ghee just because it's very hard in texture. You see, it's very hard in texture. So if you immediately warm bati, if you put in a clarified butter, it soaks it and it's make a little bit softer. It can get more softer after adding dal on the top of it, but yes, if you dip it at that point of time, it will soak that butter. Okay, so I think I answered your question. If you have any other question, please do ask. Okay, so I am here with the khad khargosh. So in this we have to marinate our rabbit meat or a chicken, whatever we are using. Then we have to wrap it with the chapati or a roti around it. Then on the top of that, you have to use a wet sack, and that wet sack you have to either you use a wet sack, or you always use a little bit of clay if you can find. So your food is very much safe from burning. So your food, it forms an oven kind of a condition. Your food gets cooked, but it never burns out. So you have to dig a hole. In that hole, you have to put a live charcoal. On the live charcoal, on the top of that, you have to put that piece of meat which has been covered with marination, then chapatis, then that sack, and then there is a clay outside. Then you place it in the hole, and on the top again you put burning charcoal, and then you cover it with the sand. Then you leave it for a while. Depends on the type of meat which you are using. I mean, if you are using a lamb or a mutton leg, for example, you might need around 2 hours of cooking. Or if you are cooking a chicken, it might take only like 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes or something. Okay, so it depends. The timing depends on the kind of a meat you are cooking. So this method is actually adapted from Mughals, and that method of cooking is called zamidosh. If you want to write down, please write down. It's called zamidosh. So this was the one. Then there was another thing, was like introduction of kebabs. Why Mughals? Yes, and as you know, in the Mughlai food there are a lot of different types of kebabs, sikh kebabs, tikkas. But even before the Mughal came, there was a, I mean, not major but minor influence by Pathans. I mean, very few people know that the Pathan from Afghanistan, they used to come and work for the kings in Rajasthan. I mean, they were in charge of their artillery section of their army, and they brought their method of cooking. They brought their method of cooking along with them, and one of them was barbecuing on an open fire. And like we have a chicken tikka and all, they brought that in the tikka form of kebab, and they call it sule. Okay, they call it sule. Sule ke mas ke sule. Mas is flesh and sule is a tikka. Okay, I think I have another question. Uh, okay, three kitchen names. Okay, royal kitchen names. I repeat again. Three different types of royal kitchens were. One was um, Khasa Rasoda, which was for VIP. Second one was Desi Rasoda, which was for the officers and the staff and sub-staff. And then there was a Videshi Rasoda, which was a kitchen meant specially for the Britishers of that time, British officers who used to visit the royal palaces. Okay. Now the another question is, what is panchkuta? Panchkuta I already explained. It's a dish which is prepared by with the help of five ingredients, and the five ingredients is kher, sangri, sangri, dry mango, gawar ki fali, and this one. What's the thing for last name was kumatia. Kumatia is a kind of a fruit which is used as a vegetable. So all five ingredients, and they are tempered with along with the mathania chili. I think you got my answer already. Now coming back to the Pathan influence. Pathan influence, I mentioned that they brought the technique of barbecuing, open barbecuing on Sikdi especially, and that equipment is actually the piece of equipment actually introduced by them as only. The name of the preparation is mas ke sule. So mas is flesh or meat, and the sule is a tikka which is come out of it. It's marinated with the spices and tenderized with the yogurt and the lemon again, and then it's cooked. Again, there is another dish which is very famous in Rajasthan, which is actually original dish. We call it from Rajasthan. Actually, I mean, it was not influenced by anyone or not inspired from anyone from outside. Is a lal mas. Now, lal mas is a dish prepared with goat meat or a mutton, in which we use onion, whole spices, mathania chili, and yogurt. Now there are different recipes and the different ways of preparing lal mas, but lal mas has different ways. But I see some of the people, they are using tomatoes as an ingredient in lal mas, which is according to me, it's completely wrong, because tomatoes were not in India until the Portuguese brought them. So in India, we were using other ingredient, depending on other ingredient for sourness and all. Like in Panchkuta, we use dry mango powder. We use yogurt instead of that. So dominating flavor in lal mas is always your clove, which is also known as long, and your mathania chili. And the oil which is used for cooking in Rajasthan is always mustard oil. I repeat my words. The major flavoring is always uh, your long and mathania chili, and the oil which is used is mustard oil. And I also mentioned yesterday in my class, uh, mustard oil is also known as kadwa oil, and it has to be heated till its smoking point, so that the pungency of the oil is reduced a little bit. All right. Let's go to another part of this. We have other dishes as well. Since we have lal mas, then there is a derivative, I mean, an inspired dish of lal mas, which is safed mas as well. Now, safed mas is the same again, the lamb cooked in white gravy. Since we talk about the Indian cuisine, there are three major gravies. One is onion and tomato masala. Then the second one is your makhni, which is based of tomato gravy, and then there is a white gravy which is based on yogurt, magas, kaju, and yeah, all these things blend together and it forms a gravy. And the same concept is used over here to make the safed mas. So I will explain some more recipes, but before that I'll go to another community which has a bigger role to play there after Rajputs in Rajasthan. So let's talk about the Marwaris. So who are Marwadis? Marwadis are the business community from Rajasthan, and they are also called Baniyas. And this community is actually all is living all over in North India, but in Rajasthan you can say the point of origin for them. Point of origin or a place of origin. So this the business community travels a lot from one place to another, but the thing is this community was not was is actually a vegetarian community, and some of them are not even into onion and garlic. So instead of using garlic, they replace garlic with the thing called hing, ingredient called hing, which is being used in a lot of Rajasthani dishes, especially the vegetarian ones. So the hing is actually a sap or a gum which is extracted from a asphotidia tree or a plant. Because we use it, I think no, it's a kind of a plant actually. It's not too big, so it's a kind of a plant. So we extract the gum from the stem and from the root of the plant. And one more fact is that even though in India we use a lot of hing, but we do not cultivate it here. Most of it coming from Afghanistan or from Baluchistan area. There are some other areas in Middle East where it can be grown, but in India we don't do it commercially much because the reason being that it takes a long time to grow this plant, around I think for 3 or 4 years it takes to mature, and you need to have a distance in between one plant. So if you grow hing plants or asphotidia plants, you need a very big area of land for yourself. So it's not, yeah, it was not considered profitable actually. So that is why the 50 grams of hing cost you around 100 to 120 rupees, 50 grams. So okay, now coming back to again for the Marwadi side. So in Marwadi kitchen, there are some strict rules that only the women who are working in kitchen, or the woman from that particular house can enter the kitchen, or a person who is a cook, who's also known as Maharaj, he can enter. And most of the time they are from a Pandit community. Okay, Maharajas are normally from the Pandit community. And there's one more thing: the person who prepares the food, either the lady of the house or that Maharaj, if he prepares the food, he's the one who's going to serve food from the pot to the plate in order to maintain the purity of the food. That's been said. Now if you compare it with the meal which we have with the in the royal kitchen, they are nevertheless, I mean, they are also into it, like using a lot of expensive ingredients and different dishes. So if you make a thali which is with the 56 items, it's called chappan bhog, which is a concept which they follow. But I'm not saying that everybody is going for the 56 items in a plate, but yes, 56 maximum can go. And 56 food items or a chappan bhog is offered to Lord Krishna as well from them while they worship them. Okay. There is a four ingredient. There's a question. Please explain four ingredients of panchkuta. Gawar ki fali is a kind of a bean. It's a kind of a string bean. Okay, so kind of a string bean. Then kher is a kind of a caper berry. Then again, sangri is again a kind of a bean which is found in a desert area. That's why it's called desert bean. Okay, and kumatia, I already mentioned that it's a kind of a fruit that grows in desert area and it is used as a vegetable. I think I have more question. Okay, spell. You want me to spell? Okay, let's spell the ingredients. Kher. Okay, spelling of kher. 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 Then sangri. Sangri. Sangrai. Then gawar. 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 Ke. Fali. Phalli. Kumatia. 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 All right. So let's get back again to the Chappan Bhog thing. And 56 items were there on a plate. And these 56 food item or the Chappan Bhog is offered to Lord Krishna as well. Okay. Now there is another thing, like these people, I mean, people from Marwadi community, they were traveling a lot from one place to another. So they were always looking for food items which can survive for a long time. So there is a concept of pickling, which is actually originated from India only, where we marinate our ingredient like mango or I mean, let's say chilies in along with the oil and the different spices, so it can survive for a longer time. Okay, then there is another concept of drying of vegetable. Like if I have a winter time or a time where I have growth or I have a lot of vegetable available. So what they used to do, they used to dry it. So at the time of summer when there is nothing else, they just hydrate it. They hydrate it and then eat it again. So it can. There was no refrigeration. There was no. I mean, there was no way to keep your food safe for a longer time, or so the perishability was always a factor. So in order to avoid that, they used to dry their food. So the vegetables were dried there as well. So basically, it was done started from the Marwadis only, and followed by everybody in Rajasthan nowadays. Then another thing which is a papad. Papad is prepared with the dal, and dal is soaked and it is formed the paste form. Then it is rolled out in a very thin sheet, along with sometimes it's plain, sometimes with the black pepper and all. Okay, and we all know how the papad is used as a snacks, or is used an accompaniment with the Indian food everywhere, especially in North India. Now we're gonna talk about a little bit about the snacks and sweets which we have in Rajasthan. Now in Jaipur there is a sweet called gulab chakri. Gulab chakri is a sweet dish which is prepared with mawa, in which we add saffron for the flavor, as well as a little bit of cardamom, green cardamom, elaichi. Okay, so these recipes of these or combination of these recipes are actually well kept secret, so cannot be explained in detail. But that's what the main ingredients are. Okay, then another dessert that or a sweet come from the Jaipur area of Rajasthan is ghevar. Ghevar is a preparation which is normally served at the time of Tej and Gangor, which is a festival over there, and it is prepared with the batter made of flour, milk, water, and sugar, and then we place a ring, which is a ring used for the ghevar, in hot oil, and then we pour the mixture or the batter in the hot oil, and it start to cook. The oil should be bit hot, and that is the reason why it start to splint, and you see the honeycomb texture of the ghevar that comes because of that only. Then Next one is another one is malpua. Malpua we prepared in our practicals as well, if you remember. So it needs flour, rice flour, milk, and fennel seed to give it a flavor. And you have to shallow fry it. After shallow frying it, you have to keep it in a chashni for a while. Then you have to remove it. You can serve it with the rabdi, or you can serve it plain with some dry fruits on the top. Now in from Jodhpur, the Jodhpur is famous for its kachori actually. Jodhpuri kachori is very famous. Now the kachori is, what is kachori? Kachori is actually a kind of a fried bread we have. Sometimes it's stuffed, sometimes it's not. But it's a flaky bread. Now how you get the flakiness? If you remember in my class, in the Awadh class, I was talking about a term called muin. I was talking about the moin. Moin is a shortening actually. Moin is a shortening. When we make a dough for the kachori, what we do is we, for 1 kg of flour, we use around 200 grams of fat. Fat could be ghee, could be oil, could be a dalda, and you have to do the shortening. Like you make a shortcut pastry, uh, like you make a shortcut pastry in bakery, you have to make a shortening with your hand, and then you have to add a little bit of water to it to form a dough. Then you have to roll it out. After rolling it out, if it is a stuffed one, like if it is a pyaj kachori or any dal ki kachori, then you have to put the stuffing, close it down, and then you have to fry it on a very low heat. Believe me, you won't like to go for a higher on a higher side of a heat, because it will burn it from outside and it won't cook and it won't be as crispy as you want. Okay. Then another preparation which is from Jodhpur is mirchi vada. Now mirchi vada is like a stuffed chili, achari chili, which we have the bigger one, which is stuffed with the potato and spices, filling of potato and the spices, and then we have to dip it in a batter made with besan. So there is a lot of use of besan in Rajasthani cuisine. The reason being that they grow a lot of lentil in the eastern side of the Rajasthan, where they have a little bit chances of growing fruits and vegetables and other grains. Okay, now we're going to talk about a little bit of other dishes from Rajasthan. Then there is a dish called Mas ki Kadhi. Mas ki Kadhi is a very unique dish in which the yogurt-based gravy is made along with some gram flour, which gives the thickness to it, and the meat used in it is a lamb, either lamb or a chicken. Then there is a khargosh ka mo, mokul. Khargosh is a rabbit, and then it's a braised rabbit. You have to cook it through, and then you have to shred out the pieces, meat pieces, and then you have to make a gravy of tomato. In that you're gonna put the shredded rabbit. So that is your khargosh ka mokul. Then there is a dal bati, we have already explained. Then gatte. Gatte is a very authentic preparation from Rajasthan. We have done it in our practical as well. In this, we have to make a dough out of besan flour, and in that you can add the green chilies, cilantro, which is also known as dhania, and red chili powder, and if you want to put ajwain, you can, and a little bit salt and turmeric. Then you have to make a dough. While you make a dough, you don't have to put a lot of water. Just add a little bit of yogurt, which gives it a softness as well, and the oil. After making a dough, you have to roll them in a shape of a breadstick, and then you have to poach them. So once the poaching is done, you can cut it into the pieces and deep fry, or if you want to leave it like that, it's okay. This gatta needs to be dipped in a gravy, which is again is onion and yogurt based gravy. Onion, yogurt, and a little bit of gram flour. If you add in a yogurt while cooking it, it's a tip. Your yogurt will not split. Okay, and it will give the thickness as well. Then when the gravy is ready, you just transfer your gattes in that one. Now there is another one, special one is the papad ki sabji. As we mentioned that the papad ki sabji is the papadam. We have to just roast it, cut. No, sorry, cut. Yeah, you have to cut it into pieces first, and then you have to roast it. Then you can fry it as well, and then you have to make a gravy of onion and tomato, and then you just smudge your papad at the last moment in it. You don't have to put in the papad. Mogul is actually a shredding. There's a question called mokul. What is the mokul? Ghost ka mokul is like a shredded for rabbit, which is served with the tomato gravy. Okay, then papad ki sabji is done, and panchkuta is done. Then bajre yeah, bajre ka rab is a kind of a drink. It's a yogurt based drink, like we have a lassi, but there is one more ingredient which they add is like if they have 1 day old bajre ki roti, they just crush it all and they just mix it in it, so it becomes a drink called bajre ka rab. Then there is another interesting sabji called चक्की की सब्जी is actually they need a flour and then they wash it and take out the gluten. That gluten they steam it, and after steaming that chakki which is formed, they cut it into several pieces, and in the yogurt based gravy they dip it and cook it. That is your chakki ki sabji, which is very unique actually. Okay. Then there is a drink called Anch, AANCH, Anch. I repeat my words, AANCH, Anch. It's a drink based on mango, which has been roasted first, and then the pulp we take out the pulp and make a drink out of it. It's a refreshing drink for the summertime. All right. Do we have more questions? Name the fruit which is used as a vegetable. Kumatia. Kumatia is a fruit. What is kumatia? Kumatia is, the question is what is kumatia and the name of the fruit. It is the name of the fruit actually. Kumatia is a kind of a fruit which is used as a vegetable. Like in Kashmir, they have apple, but for rest of the world, apple is a fruit. But in Kashmir, they use it as a vegetable. They make a sabji out of it. It's the same thing. Since they don't have so they don't have much of choice with the ingredients, so they have to play around with whatever they had available. So they were not eating it as a fruit. So there is one more ingredient I like to mention, that is I'm forgetting the name. I'm forgetting the name, which is actually a kind of a berry and used as a vegetable. I'll get back to you on that one. I forgot the name of that berry. Used as a tenderizer as well. No, sorry, it's all out of my mind. You have any other question? Please do ask any other question. If I remember the name, I'll tell you. Sorry, kachri. I got the name. Kachri. Kachri is a kind of a berry. Kachri is a kind of a berry. If it is a fresh or a raw form, that kachri is used as a vegetable. It's a berry. But when it is dried, you can ground it and use it as an ingredient to give sourness to your food, as well as you can use it as a tenderizer. I have another question. Maybe this is the last one. Explains Anch again. So Anch jo hai, it's a kind of a summertime drink which is prepared with mangoes. Okay, so the mangoes, they are roasted. Preferably they are roasted. So once you roasted the mango, it becomes very soft, and then the pulp comes out, and then you make a drink out of it. Okay, so I think that's all we have in this session. Any other question? Okay, so I guess we are done for the day. And one more thing, if you have any other question which is not been answered or maybe skipped or something, you can always ask me on WhatsApp. You all have my number. You can post it in the group. I'll come back to you with an answer. Okay. All right. Take care, and don't forget to put your attendance, and please do not repeat your attendance again and again. So it's very hard for the faculties to collect it. Thank you.